In today's video, I want to share some things I got up to in the month of July. I had a couple photography trips and some gear disasters. And the first trip is out to Morro Bay, which is kind of this project that I've been working on that I shared in a previous video, and I referred to this as a self-assignment, which is basically a photography topic that you assign yourself to go and photograph as if it had been pitched to you by a magazine or a publication or a newspaper, and you basically go out on your own time to pursue this very niche project. There's a lot of creative benefits from limiting your subject to something very specific that will give you like new creative ways to approach it that you hadn't thought about before. And so for me, that's this rock, which is this touristy landmark that's been photographed to death. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of potential for making a project about it, which goes to a further extent of really making thousands of images of it in all kinds of different contexts. And so I headed out to spend a weekend out there and continue working on that series. Morro Bay rock is literally somewhere right in that fog. Now that is outdoor living. I'm out here in Morro, and this time's been a little bit tough, I want to say, because I came all the way out here, camping out here in the car and whatnot, brought all my gear, 4-hour drive for this rock that I'm trying to photograph. And for like 95, maybe 98% of the time so far, it's just been hiding behind fog, which is kind of tricky when you're trying to photograph that thing. So I've gotten some photos of it, you know, where it should normally appear in the frame, and instead it's just foggy. And I think it's also been forcing me to look for compositions that somehow have the rock in other ways. So it's been a little bit of a challenge that I wasn't expecting, but I think I'm forcing myself to stay here rather than say, okay, let me just pack it up, go home, come back another time. I'm forcing myself to try and find ways around this, and I think one of those ways has been finding like signage of the rock, like other ways to photograph the rock without maybe specifically the rock itself. That's been my approach this time around, and I feel like it's actually maybe been a good thing that I can't see it, because it's like I'm trying to make pictures of this thing that isn't there, and so it forces me to try and think in new ways. That's how it's been going. Haven't shot much, but I think there might be just 1 or 2 shots that end up making it into the final sequence of the project, and that's all that matters. Actually, it's not all that matters. Even if I shot nothing, just being out here, thinking about the project, being out in nature, relaxing, it's all worth it. But I'm gonna go back out, see what else I can find. Because the rock was covered pretty much 95% of the time, I found myself walking around the town, talking to a lot of local people, going into businesses, meeting people in the town, and overall I just felt coming away from this trip with a much stronger connection and understanding of the town than I did when I arrived just a couple days prior. And like I said, a long time ago, I might have been like, yeah, this was not a successful trip. I didn't get that many photos, but I think this trip was successful in building a relationship with this place. And I think that will have a positive outcome for the long-term goal of the project. This didn't necessarily yield any immediate satisfying results for the series, but I do think it improved how this project will turn out in the future in a lot of indirect ways. And so I just wanted to share that not every trip photographically has to be about the final outcome in terms of the amount of photos you got, but a lot of the times just visiting somewhere to get a deeper connection to it can be equally valuable, I think. And that's what this trip was all about for me. There were some interesting photos, and I think in the grand scheme of things, actually, this is a very different kind of condition to photograph. And that's the goal of the project, is to photograph this one touristy landmark that's been photographed to death in all these different ways that you don't typically see it. How cute is that? Why are you being so cute? So it's a bit of a shorter portion in the video because I didn't film that much. I didn't feel that inspired to photograph the rock because I couldn't see it. But looking back at it, it was an amazing trip, and I can't wait to continue this project in the future. The next thing I want to share this month is I flew all the way up to Canada to buy a 2004 Subaru WRX from my friend Sam. I had one of these cars ages ago in New York City, and I've missed it ever since. It's a project I want to work on my car channel, which if you haven't checked it out already, I'll link down below. And so I flew out to Canada for the first time ever with Allison to drive this car all the way down the West Coast.
Everybody said the young folks ain't living right. And everybody said we're walking hand in hand with the devil. But I believe, oh, I truly do believe there's gonna be, oh, a sweet revival. You can read about it in the Bible.
I started my morning off before I picked up the car with a walk around Vancouver, and I only took a single image in Vancouver, but I do like the image. And actually that's going to be kind of the theme of this trip as well, is that I only shot one roll of 35mm film throughout this entire 9-day trip. I came back with one roll, and this again is another situation that a couple years ago I would have been pretty upset about. If I took a 9-day road trip and came back with a single roll of film, I would have been bummed. But this time it was so different. It was this beautiful trip that was all about just being aware of my surroundings, not focusing on photography, and just enjoying my time with Allison, because I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, but a lot of the time photography can become this all-consuming thing in this maybe slightly unhealthy way. And for me, this trip was all about kind of letting go of the feeling or the need to always be photographing.
In the stillness of the hour, let your mind be free to think of the future and the dreams you hope will be. Let your heart remember too. I wanna walk through this life with you. Baby, let me walk with you. I wanna stand by your side in the hours of rain. I'll taste the bitter with the sweet. There's a place in my heart, still waiting for you. my heart. That's just for you. Oh, I need you, baby. There's a place in my heart just for you. There's a place in my heart still waiting.
I think this trip made me realize that I just can't get myself to photograph randomly like I used to a lot. I used to just drive out wherever and photograph whatever I saw that day. And for that reason, this trip was a success to me. I think the lesson of like learning that I now strictly like to work more project-based, like for example with Morro Bay or with a place like the Outer Banks where I've been going repeatedly for years, focusing in on this one specific place, is much more the flow of making images that I prefer nowadays rather than these random road trips where I kind of photograph the unexpected things that come. The photos from this trip were much more snapshots for my own memories of the car in these beautiful places. And if there was one image I really liked, it was this photo I took of Allison kind of in the water, relaxing. You can see the water's beautiful, the sun is reflecting off of it, and this summarizes the trip for me. It's what it was all about, just being outside, enjoying nature. So those are my two photography trips that were challenging and that taught me new things. And the last thing I want to share in this video is a battle that I had with some darkroom equipment. This week I want to talk about a little adventure I'm having with the enlarger behind me, the Minolta enlarger, especially in images where it's like a neutral sky across the frame or something. It really shows up quite a lot. So here's the print off the Minolta, and the problem I'm having is this cast of magenta to cyan that happens, and it might not be super clear in this, but when I print the same negative on my other enlarger, that cast is completely gone. Like the sky looks perfectly even compared to here where it's like very magenta on that side and very cyan on that side. Here's another example where you can really see the magenta on the left, the cyan on the right. That's very severe. I picked up a little electronics repair kit, and I'm gonna try and open up this enlarger. This has all these like weird little bits. As far as I'm concerned, I would not print on this enlarger again with this color cast, so I am thinking of getting rid of it. I might as well just tear into it first and see if I can't fix it. Oh, beautiful. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, let's go. All right. I'm already getting bored listening to myself here, so what I'm going to do is speed it up and just walk you through what I did. Basically, the first thing I did was I took apart the entire filter pack and with a little Q-tip just cleaned off all the filters because this kind of haze had built up on the filters and not super evenly. So I thought this could be creating some inconsistencies in the colors. And this was quite a challenge to take apart and put back together, but somehow I figured it out. The next thing I did was I taped off all of these reflective surfaces inside of the light mixing chamber of the enlarger because I think some of this styrofoam had melted a little bit just from heat of the enlarger over time, and I think some of this reflective surface was maybe creeping into the mixing chamber a little bit, and it could also be causing an uneven cast. Then finally, the last thing I did was I put in a brand new bulb into the enlarger, and I put everything back together to make another test print. While I'm doing that, Allison's out here harvesting tomatoes. Look at this, all from our invasive tomato plant in the backyard. Beautiful. Got some prints up on the wall. Anyway, back to the enlarger. It's going in. This is the last screw right here. Going right back in there. If this works, we'll see light right down here. Oh my gosh, it works. It works, it works, it works. Let's see if the color filters work. Yes. Oh my God. Is that fixed? This is much improved compared to this old nasty print. Look at that difference. It is the next day now, and yesterday I was getting pretty frustrated with that enlarger, but I'm so glad I finally was able to fix it, because it really was, I don't want to say ruining the prints, but when you put all this work and time and money into making these prints, like, it better be perfect, you know, it better be exactly what you want. So I'm glad that I was able to fix it, and now I'm back to printing some of these photos from the Porsche road trip, and they look amazing again. The color cast is completely gone. I don't know if it was the new bulb, the tape, or cleaning the filters, but whatever it was, I'm glad that it's sort of all serviced and back to making lovely prints. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I know it was a little bit random, but I enjoy doing these kinds of videos of just different things throughout the month. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and finally, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an incredible all-in-one website building platform that you can use to build your photography portfolio online. I've been using Squarespace for so many years, and they've made it so easy to get a website up and running with my photography. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description for a 14-day free trial of Squarespace. When you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Willem for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next week with another video. Peace.